It ain't the left side or the right side, then it must be the FinSide. It ain't the left side.
Thank you, Solo D. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Check out our merch store on thefinside.threadless.com. The Dolphins have traded running back Kenyan Drake to the Arizona Cardinals. They kept us in suspense for a while. They made really the announcement the day before. We just didn't know to which team. But they have traded him to the Cardinals for a conditional sixth-round pick that could turn out to be a fifth-round pick. So when I did a poll on this on my Twitter page on Brian Cat NFL, almost 300 people responded there, and about 80% of them thought the Dolphins would get either a fourth or a fifth round pick. A very small amount thought they would get a sixth or seventh rounder. So, Paul, were you surprised by the compensation, or was it kind of what you were thinking here?
I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, we heard conditional pick first before knowing what it was. And I know you and I were back and forth a little bit about it. I thought it might be maybe a fifth that could go higher, but I'm not unhappy with a fifth. I mean, end of the day, he didn't go to a rival, and the only thing I would have liked better, and I know I put this out there, would have been I probably would have taken a sixth straight up from the Titans over a fourth or fifth from anybody else, mainly because for me, with the rat pack that's all squunched together in the AFC South, I'm all for anything that tries to help knock the Texans pick down. I'd rather have a six rounder and a pick in the teens than a fifth rounder and a pick in the 20s.
It's interesting in theory. I guess two questions back at you. Number one, were the Titans even interested in Kenyan Drake? And number two, would it really make a difference maybe in a game or so, but I don't even know if I can say with a straight face Drake would make a difference in one game for the Texans. Excuse me.
Maybe, but I will say it's, when we did our free agency preview, one of the things that I was hoping for would have been a pairing of Drake and Derrick Henry for next year, kind of that thunder and lightning combo. I know Dion Lewis has been a player that hasn't been producing for the Titans the way he was hoped to be. So they're still looking for that compliment to Derrick Henry. And all accounts, they were interested in Kenyan Drake. So the Titans would have been the landing spot I would have preferred for just about anything, just because that division right now is very, very tight. The Titans are right in the mix with it. Ryan Tannehill's playing lights out football, something that we never thought we'd be saying on this show. And you add another weapon to that mix to be that little scat back, receiving back out of the backfield, it can only help. And, if it gets them an extra win or two, that could be the win or two that knocks somebody out of the playoffs. So,
yep.
Again, it's Russian roulette, but it's something that, I'm going all in on the 3 picks for the Dolphins being as high as possible in the first round next year.
I was really hoping that the Texans were going to lose to the Raiders. I actually bet the Texans -5.5 to beat the Raiders. So I figured, okay, well, either the Texans are going to lose or I'm probably going to win my bet. No, the Texans end up winning by 3 points, so I lose in 2 ways. I think the Texans will end up going, win 10 to 12 games. I've said that since week 1 with them. But, yeah, I understand the logic behind it. As far as the running back spot, we'll have fun this offseason because you and I think exactly the opposite of the running back position. I have no respect for the running back position. I think you can basically insert anybody in there that you want, and the Dolphins have had a lot of success over the last several years without spending a lot of resources. You look at Reggie Bush and Jay Ajayi and Lamar Miller. These were not high draft picks or big free agent signings. So I hope the Dolphins have Mark Walton and maybe somebody else splitting time with them at the running back spot next year. But I do think it was a big get for the Arizona Cardinals because I think he's going to a place that is a perfect fit for him. Cliff Kingsbury is running this air raid type of offense with Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray has had some success on offense to this point. They spread the field out and get Kenyan Drake into space, and he's also going to have more of an opportunity to get the ball in Arizona because David Johnson and Chase Edmonds have had injuries the last couple of weeks, so Drake could get on the field very quickly.
He could, and I'll be honest with you, looking at Kyler Murray's play style, looking at Kenyan Drake's play style, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I hate to use this terminology because you want to talk strategy, and it is a strategy, even though some people would argue. Having those two together kind of opens you up for some fun street ball style plays that are unique and different. And I think it could be a fun season to watch out in Arizona with those two paired together.
Yeah, hopefully they can re-sign him long term too, and he's going to get a good little tryout here for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think if they want to re-sign him after the year, which I think they will, it may not cost more than $4, $5, $6 million a year to retain Kenyan Drake services. So he's been all class since he's been here. He had plenty of opportunities to complain about his role, and he never did. So kudos to him on that. But the other part of it too, and we talk about the Dolphins draft picks a lot here. When you take a look at what they have now, if assuming Kenyan Drake plays a lot and gets on the field, which I think he will, then that should be a 5th round pick. I don't have the exact terms, but let's just say that if Drake gets on the field and plays a lot and plays well, Dolphins are going to get a 5th round pick. If that's not true, the Dolphins are going to get a 6th round pick. So taking a look at the picks the Dolphins have, they have 3 in the 1st round, one of their own, one from the Texans, one from the Steelers. In the 2nd round, they have one of their own and one from the Saints. In the 3rd round, they'll have one of their own. So now they've got 6 of the first 65 to 70 picks in the draft. 4th round, they should get a compensatory pick for Juwan James. It should be a 4th rounder now because James has been hurt. And in the 5th round, they'll get a 5th rounder back from the Steelers as well as a 5th rounder from the Arizona Cardinals if Drake plays a lot. So now you're talking about 5. In the first 5 rounds, the Dolphins are probably going to have 10 draft picks.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. For me, and I know I keep beating this drum, but I've been going and playing with FanSpeaks mocks and just doing draft simulators, even the flawed logic that there is to some of that. You could build something really, really fun, even if you whiff on a couple of picks with what Miami's got next year. And that's not even accounting for the 110, 120 million that they're projected to have in free agency. You can really rebuild this in a hurry, and then you look at what they've got the following year. Even if you hit on, say, 3 great players, 3 good players, maybe 1 or 2 role guys, and 2 washouts, right? To complete in total, don't even make the roster guys. That's still, over the next 2 years, what they're able to build with that out of those 10 picks.
That's a good way to break it down. And so it's a really good way to break it down on that. And when you look at it through that lens, it is pretty reasonable. And then you've got 2 firsts and 2 seconds there in the upcoming year. So the other side of that coin, though, is now you take a look at the Dolphins draft picks going back really 5 years. I mean, I'm not going to name them all, but 2014, first round pick was Juwan James. Turned into a good player. He's not here. Jarvis Landry set records in his first 4 years in the league for most catches. He's not here. Billy Turner took a while to develop, but he's an NFL starter. He's not here. 2015, Jordan Phillips was drafted in the 2nd round. He didn't get along with Adam Gase. He's not here. The Dolphins got nothing for him. 5th rounder, Jay Ajayi, they draft and they trade for a 4th round pick after he had a Pro Bowl year. Yeah, I know he's out of the league now with the knee, but I still think it's better value than Kalen Ballage, which you got for him. Then in 2016, Tunsil's a franchise left tackle. He's not here. Kenyan Drake is now comes in and he's a good player and he's not here. Dolphins will get a 5th or 6th rounder back from him. They also traded Jordan Lucas, drafted him in the 6th, and now they traded him for a 7th, and now he's a decent role player with the Chiefs. Minka Fitzpatrick you draft in the 1st round. You hit on that pick. He's not here. So that's the other ugly side to this, Paul, where, yeah, they've got a lot of draft picks, but they've spent a lot of draft picks on these guys too.
They have. And the way that I think about it is you can't look at this season or really the preseason leading into this season and this season with conventional logic. It's, yes, a lot of these guys that they've drafted over the past few years are gone. That's part of this formula that they've got in play. And they didn't trade Laramie Tunsil because he sucked. They didn't trade some of these guys because they sucked. They're trading this to reset the needle, and you have to look at it differently than you would in a normal year. So, yeah, if you go by the conventional logic where their 2016 draft picks are gone at this point for the most part, sure, they are, but it was part of this reset for Chris Greer, the first year that he's got real, true, full control. And let's face it, based on things that we've said so far, a competent coaching staff for the first time in a very long time. I don't think anybody can say it wasn't Adam Gase that was a big part of the problem when he was here after looking at the New York Jets this year. So you can't look at it with conventional logic, and once you get away from that, it doesn't look as bad as it might when you look at it through conventional logic, because what they're doing here is not conventional. It's a very unconventional approach, so things are going to look a little weird if you look at it the normal way.
Yeah, and what they need to do is take some of these players on the roster that they found, like Vince Beagle, like Evan Boehm, and Robert Condice. We're 20 minutes away from kickoff while we're recording the show here, because this is when we found out about Drake here today on Monday night. He will suit up, and so you're hoping that some of these players we can look at the end of the year and say, yeah, those third, fourth, fifth round picks aren't here from the past, but these other guys can hopefully step in and make a little bit of an impact, and we'll see if they can continue to go here too. So, yeah, another thing too with Drake that takes a little bit of the sting off is, Adam Gase, we can talk about him all day, and obviously the way he used Drake in terms of blocking, and after he has the Monday night or the Miami Miracle next game against the Vikings in the biggest game of the year, he has one carry for 7 yards. And so, not good with Adam Gase in that. But also, Brian Flores came in here as well, and he reached the same conclusion with Kenyan Drake, that this was not a full-time player. And now here heading into the game, Mark Walton's going to start his third game in a row. So there is something to be said about that. And that's why I'm not surprised the Dolphins only net a fifth or a sixth round pick from Drake.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I mean, And just to go back to one other thing you said, and I know we're wrapping up here, I'm really excited to see this defense with Nkemdiche and Xavier Howard both active tonight. That is something I'm really excited to see, because I do think this defense is only a couple pieces away from being a pretty damn good one. It's, given the fact that they've been playing with their backs against the wall, has been part of the problem, and the offense's failures. So that's an exciting thing to see for me. And it's best of luck, Kenyan Drake.
I think that the defense has very good players in a lot of the wrong spots. Defensive tackle, linebacker, just not a pass rush, and not enough cornerbacks other than Xavier Howard. But that's why we've got all these draft picks, so that we can continue to add 2 or 3 big pieces. And the Dolphins as well in free agency are going to have a lot of money to spend. So that's going to do it for our breakdown of the Dolphins trading of Kenyan Drake to the Arizona Cardinals for either a 5th or a 6th round pick, depending on how Drake performs. So root hard for him in Arizona, so that is a 5th round pick, and the Dolphins have more resources to spend here in April. You can follow Paul and I on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the FinSide. So, D, take us home.
It ain't the left side or the right side, and it must be the FinSide. It ain't the left side or the right side, and it must be the FinSide. Listen, Dolphins fans across the land all tuning in to see what Brian Cat and